Welcome back to my channel Celebuzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. After more than 20 years of incarceration, Texas executed Moises Mendoza by lethal injection on April 23, 2025. The community, his loved ones, and himself were all wounded by his horrific crimes and the cruelty he displayed. The chilling tale of unspeakable brutality that had plagued the sleepy Texas community of Farmersville for more than 20 years came to a terrifying close in Moises's dying moments. This movie will take a look at his last words, his last meal, or lack thereof, and the disturbing events of that fatal day. Everything starts on March 18, 2004, according to the timetable. A seemingly routine Monday in Farmersville quickly devolved into a living nightmare. A young mother named Rachelle Tolleson was reported missing. Upon visiting her home, a worried neighbor discovered a troubling sight. The back door ajar. The house in a state of chaos, and Rachelle's 5-month-old daughter sprawled alone on an unkempt bed. However, Rachelle could not be located. Nothing could explain her absence, even though the scene hinted at a violent battle. Moved furniture, generalized fear. The house looked like someone had broken in, but nobody had taken anything valuable. Looking back to the night before Rachelle vanished helps to fully grasp the horror of what had transpired. It appeared like any other ordinary day on March 17th. Around 10 p.m., Rachelle returned home after visiting her mother and spending time with her kid. It had been a quiet evening, according to everyone. While Rachelle was away, something terrible happened in the hours leading up to morning. No one suspected wrongdoing at first. Even though Rachelle's mother always checked on her first thing in the morning, she couldn't find her this time. When Rachelle's mom got home, she saw the door was slightly ajar. There was mayhem within. The headboard had been yanked off the bed, and the nightstands had been turned over. Strangely, neither Rachelle's pocketbook nor her automobile budged from their spots in the driveway. What really got to her, though, was the fact that Rachelle wasn't there. She had left behind only her sobbing infant. Something had obviously gone very wrong when Rachelle's handbag and the divorce papers were found on the kitchen floor, both stained with muddy boot prints. The incident was promptly reported to the authorities, and an investigation was initiated shortly after. In an effort to find Rachelle, a large number of people, including neighbors, volunteers, and even mounted search teams, combed the fields and roads near Farmersville. Still, Rachelle remained elusive despite their utmost endeavors. After 5 days of searching, the possibility of discovering her alive seemed to diminish with every passing hour. After that, a hiker found something chilly on day 6. Something seemed off, a charred patch of dirt in the woods, around 10 miles west of Farmersville. The burned remains of a corpse were visible to him as he drew near. Rachelle was the one. In a clumsy effort to cover up the murder, her corpse had been burned to the ground. The killer probably thought the fires would wipe off all evidence of his victim, but instead, a web of lies and brutality would be revealed by the subsequent investigation. In a secluded spot, Rachelle's lifeless body was discovered concealed beneath a stack of logs. It was terrifying how horrible the crime was. In addition to killing Rachelle, her killer had taken extreme measures to wipe up any evidence of her whereabouts. As soon as they arrived on the scene, investigators knew it was not the result of a careless burglar or bungled heist. There was something considerably darker about this. Andrew Tolleson, Rachelle's estranged husband, was first the target of suspicion. Rachelle had filed for a separation decree just before she vanished, adding further drama to the couple's tumultuous divorce. Several witnesses corroborated Andrew's alibi, which stated that he had been present at a party the night she vanished. Some people recalled his obtaining a transport home in the wee hours of the morning after he had been drinking excessively. It seemed like his alibi was rock solid, until one strange fact came to light. A bonfire had been lit at the celebration. The fact that the wood used to burn Rachelle's body seems to have originated from the same campfire was quickly discovered by investigators. This discovery paved the way for further research in an unanticipated direction. As part of their investigation, forensic scientists compared the logs burned at the bonfire with those discovered at the scene of the crime. The discovery they made was mind-blowing. A unique amount of titanium was among the unusual substances found in the wood when Rachelle's body was devoured by fire. Its chemical fingerprint was spot on. The focus of the investigation changed to Moises Mendoza as a result of this finding. The man around the bonfire that night was Moises, a 21-year-old with a troubled past. Rachelle and Moises were high school sweethearts, and he started taking an interest in her when she broke up with Andrew. Rachelle had already informed her friends that she wasn't interested in him, even though he kept trying to get her. Even still, Moises's crush for Rachelle remained strong. and he had taken care to approach her while they were outside by the bonfire. At first, Moises denied any knowledge of Rachelle's disappearance when questioned by the authorities, but his story's details soon fell apart. Claiming that Rachelle had voluntarily left with him, Moises confessed to picking her up that night. What transpired thereafter, however, was described by him in an increasingly implausible and contradictory fashion. After she went out from being choked, he confessed to dragging her to a remote area behind his house and attacking her there. Once again he strangled her. This time she remained unconscious. To confirm her demise, he proceeded to stab her in the throat. Because he was freaking out, Moises knew he had to get the body out of the house before the cops could find it. He tried to cover his tracks by driving to a lonely spot in rural Collin County, far from any human settlement, and setting Rachelle's corpse on fire. Upon the final extinguishment of the fire, Moises concealed her remains beneath a stack of logs, placing his hope in the woods to preserve the secrecy, but that wasn't the case. As soon as the corpse was discovered, the case against Moises began to gather steam. More unsettling revelations surfaced as detectives delved into Moises's background. He was wanted for attempting to kidnap other women in Dallas just months before Rachelle's death. His pending bail status at the time of Rachelle's disappearance only served to heighten the suspicions already leveled against him. Additional damaging evidence was uncovered during the search of his residence. Boot prints on Rachelle's divorce papers were matched by a pair of boots at her house, which were covered in petrol and covered in soot. In addition, beneath the layers of dirt and ash, detectives uncovered a pair of pants that had the marks of a small stain of blood. Subsequent testing verified that the blood belonged to Rachelle. There was no doubt about his guilt, thanks to the physical evidence and Moises's icy confession. Moises maintained an unnerving composure in the face of the proof. There was an absence of emotion, regret, and apologies from him. A shudder ran down my spine as he seemed oblivious to the seriousness of his conduct. His guilt was almost universally accepted when the matter proceeded to trial. After Moises admitted guilt, the next issue was whether he would face the death penalty. The capital murder conviction and execution sentence against Moises Mendoza took place on July 1, 2005. The trial was more of a struggle for his destiny than an argument for his innocence. Due to probable mental illness and trauma from his history, his defense team claimed that he should be spared, but the jury disagreed. The jurors thought Moises was too violent and could be a threat to society in the future. After he filed each appeal, they were all rejected. The verdict of the trial could not be overturned by further legal maneuvering. The horrible deeds committed by Moises Mendoza sealed his fate while he sat on death row for more than 20 years. Finally, after 20 years of appeals, his execution was set for April 23, 2025. Since 2011, there has been a change to Texas law that prohibits Moises from choosing his last meal. After 2 prior criminals in Texas refused to eat extravagant feasts that were arranged, all detainees are now given the same meal. Even though Moises's last meal was a typical jail fare, his last moments in prison would be anything but mundane. The gurney carrying Moises was fastened as the execution commenced. Moises turned to face the window, where Rachelle's family sat watching. After his spiritual advisor gave a quick prayer, he spoke to Rachelle's family in a methodical fashion, starting with her parents and moving on to her brothers, cousin, and uncle. "I am sorry for having robbed you of Rachelle's life," stated the man. His tone was gentle yet genuine. "There is absolutely no way that my words or deeds could ever compensate for that. Please know that I am speaking from the heart." Even though Rachelle's little kid wasn't there, his remarks were meant for her and her family. After that, he turned to face another window and spoke to his own family, his sister, wife, and 2 friends in Spanish. "This is my affection for you. I stand by your side." He assured them that he was fine and at ease. "You know that I'm well, and everything is love." A peculiar respite before the onslaught, a last effort to provide a modicum of tranquility. A fatal injection was administered at 6:21 p.m. After letting out 2 squawks, Moises dozed off and began to snore rhythmically. At 6:40 p.m., Moises Mendoza was declared dead after his body gradually became still. Rachelle Tolleson's family had to endure a lengthy and bitter chapter that ended with his execution. He was 41 years old when he passed away. The emotional impact of Rachelle's demise, the savagery of Moises's deeds, and the ultimatity of his beheading all function as disturbing reminders of the repercussions and toll that violence exacts on the lives of individuals left behind. The terrible tale of Moises Mendoza's crime, prosecution, and execution involves the loss of a life, the irreparable damage done to a family, and the burden placed on society to confront the shadowy side of justice.